Hello and welcome to the show. Today is going to be a noisy episode because the kids are home, it's a full house, and then this Hamatan kata is really killing me here. So this is going to be one of those coughing, hacking, and sniffing episodes. Now today I want us to look at networking with collaborators. The reason why is because I reached out to a former podcast collaborator because I had one or two things to talk about, and the lady hadn't even stored my phone number. And then it just got me thinking about how a whole bunch of us throughout the whole year, because right now it's December of 2024, as at the time of making this podcast. So about a whole bunch of us, run through the whole year, collaborating with a bunch of people, meeting stakeholders here and there, and then we lose out of opportunities for networking and building alliances that we can carry on to next year. Because I'm not trying to say I'm the ish or anything, but I'm just trying to say that if you run a couple of things with a few people, in 2024, in this case, it stands to reason that as you're capping out 2024, it should be a reasonable thing to do to reach out to a couple of them, find out how people are doing, that sort of thing, remain in good standing, because you don't know which way the breeze might blow in 2025. I don't know where good business is going to come out from. If for nothing else, at the very least, you want to be in touch with some people that you know to be credible vendors or credible partners that you can reach out to when you have some project that you're working on and you might need the assistance. So if you'd love to connect and explore opportunities with me, the phone number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234 for those of you who are not Nigerian. And then you can connect with me on socials. I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. I'm closing down Facebook and any other place, so don't bother reaching out to me there because I'm not going to see it. So LinkedIn only. The name to look for is Tabishima Ayede. Now, like I said, we're looking at how we're going to do networking with collaborators as we're rounding up 2024 and getting ready to head into 2025. Now, the advice that you're going to hear here is applicable no matter when you're listening to this. So if you're listening to this podcast in 2036 and you're getting ready for business in 2037, the principles are still the same. So first off, I think from a common sense perspective here, try not to be too fancy or educated about anything. If you have interacted with someone in the previous year, 2024, now that we're in December, it might make sense to just pick up the phone and then just call some people casual. And the idea is going to be something like, hey, what's up now? How you been? It's been a while. And then you have that conversation. You shoot the shit, the person talks their own too. Some other banter back and forth. And then another common sense thing. Oh, I appreciated the time we did this job. I appreciated our interaction around this. I appreciated the collaboration around that, blah, blah, blah. And then you talk a bit about how it was a useful project for you, or how you leverage that into something else, and this and this and that and that. And of course, that's where you throw in the whole thing of, as we're heading into 2025, looking for more opportunities for us to collaborate in the future. And then it's also common sense to ask the person about their goals or priorities for next year. So this one now, 2025. So what's the plan? What are you working on? That kind of thing. It doesn't have to be heavy. Just keep it simple, conversational. So what are you looking at for 2025? What are you working on for 2025? 2025, what's the goal? Just simple. Just say it the way that suits your fancy. And have those conversations back and forth about what that person's goal is for 2025. Now, the reason why it's a good idea to ask this sort of thing is because you already know your priorities for 2025, for the coming year, for whatever it is that you want to do. But then, if you cap off the year by talking to, let's say, 20 people that you spoke to, that you did business with in 2025, and you have a sense of what their priorities are for next year, what their goals are for next year, you already have a sense of where your own goals, your own agenda, your own skill set can slot into those things. So this could be the beginning of you calling up people in 2025 to say, hey, what's up? Happy New Year. How's the family? Share holidays were okay. How's wife and kids? Blah, blah, blah. How's your husband? This is that. Oh, by the way, in December when we spoke, you said 1, 2, 3, ABC. Me, I was thinking, I'm working on 4, 5, 6 over here. And I'm thinking that if 2 of us join hands, this is how we can do this thing. How you see them. And then you leave it like that and hear what the person has to say. So some of these things are just straight up common sense that a whole bunch of us are not doing and we should be doing in our business. So when you have that conversation about, so what's the goal for next year? What are you working on for 2025? What do you have in view? Blah, blah, blah. What's important for you? What's the priority? What's your vision? However it is you want to put it. That's where you can now call them up in 2025 to say, oh, based on what we discussed, here's how I can be helpful, this and this and that and that. Or me, I'm also working on this thing here and I'm going to need help around this and this and this. You with this your skill set and you with this goal that you're working on. If you plug in here, this is how we can move this thing forward. How do you see it now? Should I come over? Let's discuss in some more detail how we can make this thing work. Or should we do a Zoom call later on, like around that kind 9 p.m.? Let's see how this thing can work. So these are conversations that we should be having. And like I said, the reason why I was inspired to make this podcast episode is because I called a former podcast collaborator. And I thought there were some opportunities for her on terrestrial TV, particularly on Star Times. Terrestrial TV just means, normal old school TV, like NTA TV, all these sorts of things, where it's not DSTV, not digital. So I thought she would have there was an opportunity on some terrestrial TV that might be good for her and her business. And then of course she's like, who is this? And I just thought. Anyway, I just thought it was such a shame because before we collaborated on the podcast, I interviewed her for my podcast. We had a really interesting conversation, or at least a conversation that I thought was interesting. Got to know a lot about her. I mean, if you check my CRM on her and the information that I have there, and then of course the small pinging back and forth that we do on LinkedIn, I thought we were getting to know ourselves quite well, but then apparently was just one-sided. So it was who is this? So it just got me thinking that there's a whole bunch of you who are doing business with people or collaborating with people and you're not even doing some of this basic stuff. Who are they? What are they about? What business are they in? What is their priorities? Stuff like that. Because it helps to know some of these things. It's not as if I'm asking you to care for other people. You don't have to. It's just because we're trying to get somewhere in the world and we need some building blocks to put together. And sometimes we need resources in terms of money, and sometimes we need resources in terms of people. So it's good to know who are the people in your personal network, what they're handy with, and how that's going to help. Now, it turned out that it was not important for her because she already is on terrestrial TV. So it means that my guess was correct. It's just that I saw what she was doing on LinkedIn and I just thought, look, this thing makes sense now. If you put this thing on TV, it's going to pop and it's going to work like this, like that. So that's the reason why I called her. So anyway, she's already on TV. So that was not necessary again. But then, like I said, it just got me thinking that there are a whole bunch of you who have collaborated with people in the past. You didn't bother to do some basic things. Store their phone number, follow up with them, have conversations with them, figure out what they're about, figure out how your both of your visions, your missions, how everything works together and how you can be useful resources for each other going forward. And then as I thought about it, it just occurred to me that of the people that I had collaborated with on my podcast, because I don't interview too many people on the podcast, I have over 1,002 episodes right now on the podcast. Only one person was a live interview, and that's because she knew how to handle it. That's my friend Nene, the communications professional, who is based out in America. So she handled the recording and everything. So that one, her own is a live interview. So the other people, I had just interviewed them and then spoken about the things that we spoke about. So it just occurred to me that of all the collaborators that we collaborated with in 2025, not too many of them, definitely less than 10, only one person had reached out to me. So we should be reaching out to people. And by the way, this is how, when you start reaching out to people, it gets like a bitter taste in the other person's mouth. Because think about it. So it's coming to the end of the year, only one person has hit me up. Now the other people, the next time they definitely call me, I now know that, okay, these people, they definitely want something. So you can see how networking should be other-centered or can be other-centered. You only just don't pick up the phone when you definitely want something for someone. Anyway, don't mind me. I'm just faffing about on the podcast. I guess the summary that I'm trying to say here right now is I'm just trying to say take action. It's 2024. It's December. The year is almost at an end. Pick up the phone or send a message. In fact, pick up the phone. Forget this message thing. Pick up the phone. Call your collaborators for 2024. I have a general conversation with them. Look, it's been good doing business with you this year, blah, blah, blah. Here's good tidings for 2025. God bless our families. God bless our businesses. blah blah blah, greater growth, greater progress, all those conversations that we like to do in Nigeria. And then keep conversation avenues open for the next year. That is just pretty much the scope. It's the end of the year. Pick up the phone, call these people. What's up? How you been? How's business? That thing you are working on, did it click? Oh, okay, that's cool. So we're heading into next year. It go better for us. God to bless our families. God to bless our children. God to bless our wives. God to bless our husbands. Blah 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 blah. What up, Mumsy? How is she doing? This Tinubu economy self. So this 2025, how you go be now? Oh, okay, this is what you're working on. Okay, no problem. Tell me more about this. Okay, that sounds interesting. No problem. By the time we come back from Christmas vac, I'll buzz you so we can talk some more. Okay, no problem. So greet your wife for me. Later, regards to the kids. Bam, cut the phone. It's not that hard. Pick up your phone. There's probably not going to be too many people. I mean, worst case scenario, if you had a very busy year, maybe you have 50 of these phone calls to make. But if you have 50 of these phone calls to make, you can do it now. Because as of the date of this recording, this is December 9th. If you're calling, sorry, excuse me. If you're calling 3 people every day, between now and December 25th, that'll be how many days now? Okay, let me not betray my math. But I'm just saying that you can do it. Even if it's 50 people you have to call, you can do it. You just make up your mind that every single day you pick up the phone, try and call like, 2, 3, 4 of them. Not everybody will answer, send some messages. But we need to get these things going. And this is how we start greasing the wheels, for networking, for collaboration, and for opportunities for 2025, for the next year. So like I said, this still applies. Even if you're listening to this podcast in 2036 and you want to do business in 2037, it still applies. So it's my prayer that for those of us listening to this episode now, whenever it is that you're listening to it, even if you're listening to this episode in 2087, I think by 2087 I should be dead and gone. But if this podcast episode is still available, then the scope is still the same. And it's my prayer that as you're listening to this podcast, that we wrap up the current year that you're in strong, and then we look forward to the new year, where it's going to be filled with opportunities for growth, opportunities for progress, not just for us, but for our partners, for our kids, for those of us who have kids, for those of you who don't have kids. Anyway, that's another podcast episode, but that's some fun things to look forward to if you don't have kids. Children are definitely a blessing. They come with their own challenges, but it's a blessing. It's a good thing to look forward to. So it's my prayer that we wrap up this year strong and that we have wonderful opportunities to look forward to in 2025. So if you'd love to connect with me, for those of you who are listening to this thing in 2097, I'm definitely dead. So there's no point in trying to connect with me, except if whoever it is that's taken over my business has come up with some AI replica or something. So the number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234. And then connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the only social media that I'm on. But remember, for those of you listening to this podcast episode in 2097 or something like that, I'm definitely dead. So it's not the real me you're talking to. You're talking to some AI version of me. So just bear that in mind. But for those of you listening to this in 2024, it's still me. I'm still here. So take advantage. Reach out. Let's have a chat. It's always a pleasure for me to meet people who listen to my podcast. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode tomorrow.